Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at Bitcoin. We're only going to look at Bitcoin on this video, but we're going to look at a few other things to help us try and understand what's likely to take place with Bitcoin. Because knowing what's happening with Bitcoin right now is going to transfer onto all the major top cap coins and obviously a lot of the other smaller cap coins. There will be obviously a few that move up amongst this in this period, but that's on a fundamental basis mostly. So let's just focus on Bitcoin for a moment. What's happening a bit more with Bitcoin is that we do have and still have this descending trend line here, which is basically resistance. We had a little fake out yesterday and then broke down from it. Now this isn't uncommon. If you have a wedge formation like this, what we had here, a wedge taking place, and the longer it takes for the price action to break out of that wedge, whether it's up or down, usually dictates its strength. Now if it were to break out of this earlier and move up, then it would show strength in the continuation of that move is likely to continue. If it breaks down towards the end of this, then again it's basically showing us that yes, it will break down, but it's not the be all and end all. It's not a failed pattern, but the move that takes place at the end of that pattern is weaker than it would be if it were to break down further within it. So if it broke down here, for instance, it would have been a stronger move down. If it broke out here, it would be a stronger move up. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of the time what happens is we get to the end of the wedge formation, which we had here, so we came down to test the support zone of it, we bounced back up, we broke above it, but technically it's a bit of a fake out. So what's really happened here now is that we've broken down beneath it significantly, and now the only thing that's relevant at this point isn't the support line. We can get rid of that, and it's just this trend line. This will still this will still act as a resistance, but there is no support beneath us now. That's basically been broken and doesn't exist anymore, because even if this closed here or anywhere by tomorrow, it doesn't exist. So the only thing that we've got to look at now is the resistance. So the resistance, it will still take place. Now what we also look at is where we've come down to be supported from, and it was exactly at the center of this Bollinger Band here on the daily chart. Absolutely at the very center of it. Now as the price action stands at the moment, we're below the 10 exponential moving average, which is not specifically bearish, but it's not a good sign, because we used to bounce from that quite successfully. We've been bouncing from that along all this way up, and yeah, we have broken down beneath it before, and we have had wicks beneath it before, but closures beneath it and then rejections from it would basically transfer into what I would consider more of a correction and more of a downtrend, and then only until we break above it or stay above it, close above it, get supported above it, that's when I'll be starting to get more bullish again. So at the moment it's trying to decide where it wants to do. Now being supported on the center of the Bollinger Band is still very good. Yes, it's not a bad thing at all. So this is the deal with Bitcoin at the moment. These other indicators still suggest bearish divergence on the RSI. We've still got negative cross, although it's not diverging, and it's still in really bullish territory excuse me, on the MACD, so that's all fine. Money flow index is trickling down a little bit, so showing at this point that there's less buying pressure, less people buying the dips at such magnitude. Let's look at some other things then, shall we? The DXY. This is DXY on the monthly. So if you're not sort of, I suppose, aware of this sort of thing, I mean, the DXY is the dollar index, the strength of the dollar. A strong dollar is technically a weaker stock, weaker commodity, weaker Bitcoin, because the strength, the more of the dollar is worth, in comparison to any other asset, they will be worth less on paper. Physically they will be looking different because the dollar is worth more. If it's worth less, they'll be looking more valuable because they're priced in with the dollar. They're whether or not their value has changed or not is kind of irrelevant. The impression that they give is that they're worth more because the dollar that they're priced in with is worth less. Hope that makes sense. So this is the monthly chart. What we see here is that the 200 exponential here has, and this is a monthly chart. This goes all the way back into the 80s. But what we're looking at here is the 200 exponential moving average, which is basically where we found roughly a support last time we came down this low, this fast. Now we did bounce from here, and I've mentioned it before, this is also where Bitcoin found its last all-time high, around about $20,000 at the end of 2017 into 18. That's basically what this is here. This is November, December, January 2018, and then obviously the dollar found a relief and started to move up right up until the March incident, where everything went crazy. So what we're doing now is we're coming back down, and we've come all the way back down to test it. So historically speaking, different situation here than it is here. We don't have a pandemic back then, we do now. We don't have economic crisis like we do now back then. So it's a different situation, but if you go and buy this chart alone, it would suggest that we might find at least a relatively decent bounce around this level, not quite a reversal, because we didn't get a reversal here. What we have is a higher high and a lower high, so this in itself is representing some form of consolidation from this move here on the dollar. So I don't think that this is the bottom. I think that we will continue down, but I would expect probably at this point now a bit more of a bounce. And again, this is a monthly chart, so the chart in itself isn't going to suggest that we're going to bounce from here. You can see here that this is 1 month, we broke here, 2 months, and then we started to use that as support before we rallied up. That took 3 months, 4 months really, before we actually moved significantly away from that moving average. Now this moving average is still moving up, but this moving average is facing down. So there's and like I say, this looks like consolidation to me from the dollar itself. So to find new lows on the dollar, it would not surprise me at all, especially considering the amount of dollars that are being printed like they're essentially worthless, and they're just printed faster than toilet paper at the moment. So that's going to devalue this over time anyway. So again, this looks like consolidation to me on a monthly basis. So we're talking years worth of up and down, up and down. But is this a local bottom? Could quite easily be. And if this is a local bottom, it would impact all commodities, all stocks, all cryptocurrencies as a result of that. So that's something worth bearing in mind. Another thing to bear in mind is that the CME leverage funds doubled down and shorts on Bitcoin. So this isn't a massive deal, but what it means is that net short, so the majority of CME positions on Bitcoin are currently short. And also, if we look at blockchain whispers, which only really takes on board these 3 exchanges, which isn't it's not massive. As of 5 minutes ago, we've gone down to 67. Now that is still obviously clearly majority long on Bitcoin, but if we start to trickle down below about 65, it will have an cumulative effect, and we will start to see some more downwards pressure. Now, because we've bounced here, which is also a critical level within this blue box territory as well, which I need to bring over a bit more. There we we'll put it around about there. We're in the blue box territory, so again, this area is undecided, and if we break down below this blue box, which is basically 18,500, then I would expect further continuation down to the next blue box territory, bringing us all the way down to about 17,150, around about that level. But at the moment, it's not looking like it wants to do that immediately. That would be a significant drop if it did do that. That would be basically a 9% drop. Okay, so I'm talking bearish here because there's a lot of things that add up together to suggest further. This isn't the chart speaking to me. The chart says different. The chart says I'm holding up okay, people are still buying me back. But these other things all together, the Dixie, a possible bounce here on a monthly, longs dropping off ever so slightly, and CME futures longs obviously clearly net short. So all of those things combined give a bit more of an idea of what could be brewing as far as the next big move. But if we were to break out this resistance zone and obviously stay above this blue box territory and get above the 10 exponential, and even better the 7 simple, which is this skinny little white line, then we can move up into the 20,000s easily. 21, 22, 23, maybe even 25. But it will come to a point where it's going to be overreached, and the larger the stretch, the bigger the consolidation, the longer it would take. So I would rather it break down a little bit here, freeing up a bit more liquidity for people to essentially buy back at better positions, holding those positions for a longer period of time, basically building the strength for it to make that big next big push up without having to go all the way up and then all the way back down again. So that would, in my view, would be a much healthier approach, and I think that's looking to me like the most obvious situation. But again, this is going to take time because there's lots of other things at play. The Dixie, the net shorts, and obviously the longs dropping off at the moment, but there is still buying pressure anyway. So I'm stocked up, ready to go on Bityard for each and every move. So I've basically just closed a long on this one, and I'm looking to perhaps maybe take another short on this one. Get yourself set up on this, by the way, and enjoy some decent freebies. Links below. And also, I've still kept my bot running on Easy to Ethereum. So at the moment, you know, despite the up and downwards moves, it's done extremely well. Started this with basically 2 Ethereum, as you can see here, 18 days ago, and as a result I've left the bot to do its trading, and it's currently almost made me it's made me 41% extra Ethereum than I had 18 days ago. So you really need to set this stuff up as well. I mean, all the links are below. You get 14 days free trial on this one, and there's a demo account so you can learn it, but I've got lots of tutorials. But with this kind of profit, I mean, it's difficult to resist, especially because, you know, it suits the people who are basically not available to be making trades left, right, and centre. The bot will do it all for you. You know, at this rate, you know, by the end of the month, I might even be close to 100%, depending on the state of this chart. But the beauty of this chart is that it doesn't need to go up or down significantly. It just needs to make the moves. And as you can see, if we zoom out on this one, actually, you know, it's basically been playing within a sort of range. I started it over here. Where did I start it? Oh, it's still loading it all up. These are all the trades that have taken place. So I started it here. It's gone down, it's gone up, it's gone down, it's gone up, gone down, it's gone back up again, and all of that area has been traded to the result of basically 41% extra Ethereum now than I had when I started. So it's doing really well. I would suggest keep this one going. If you've already set this bot up, by the way, I'd suggest keep this one going indefinitely. This one is an absolute beauty. Still not broken out of the top range. It doesn't really matter. You can only imagine what my profits will be when it actually does start to launch. But even this sideways trading is that's perfect for a bot, and that's what you kind of want. You want high volatile sideways trading, and obviously if it does go up significantly, it's a bonus. But until then, there's absolutely nothing wrong with 41% profit in 18 days for sitting around doing nothing. I like to try and have my fingers in many sort of different types of pie, basically. And at the moment, I'm trying to make the most of the of Bityard for what it's worth, because there is a chance that we might not be able to use that without a VPN. You know, for the UK customers, you know, futures aren't going to be available to us unless we're creative about how we access them. The UK doesn't want us to use them, so it's worth thinking about how we're going to find extra revenue, extra income through cryptocurrency other than just spot trading. And bots are one of those other areas where you can really make the most out of trades, you know, without having to just sit around doing spot trading yourself. I will actually make a video on some of these other areas that I'm testing out at the moment, but I do kind of feel responsible for the things I present on this channel, so I don't really, until I've fully tested something out, I don't really want to present it to you, just in case the results aren't as good as, so there are other things that I'm doing at the moment, but until I get the results back, you're not going to see them yet. But yeah, I do have some other plans as well, which I should hopefully, in about a week from now, have the results back, see how profitable those other things are. And then I'll share them with you if obviously the results are good. But for the moment, the bots have definitely been good, and I would suggest you get involved on that too. Anyway, I'm going to leave it with you there, but at the moment, yeah, like I say, it does look like it wants to take another leg down, and if it breaks down beneath the centre of this Bollinger Band, so 18,600, I would expect to see this area, the top of this blue box, 17,200 or just below, taken out, and then I would expect to bounce from there, just like anything would bounce from significant supports, and that is a significant support, so that's where I'd expect to buy it back from, at least in the short term, or go long on this area. This one here, if this breaks down, especially beneath the blue box, that would be an excellent short down to this area. And that's just my plan. You guys plan what you want, but that's what I'll be doing. So links below. Set yourself accounts up for Bityard, for Bitsgap as well, which is the bot trading system. And I hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.